Your doctor never told you this about your blood sugar. You have been cutting sugar. You stopped eating white rice at night. You switched to brown bread. You are walking after dinner. You are doing everything they told you to do. And your fasting glucose is still waking up between 110 and 150 every single morning, like clockwork. Like your body just does not care about your effort. Here is what nobody told you. That number, that stubborn morning number, is not coming from what you are eating the night before. It is coming from your liver. And there is a natural compound backed by dozens of clinical trials that directly targets that exact problem. It is called Berberine, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand it in a way that most doctors never explain. Because once you understand why your blood sugar is not moving despite everything you are doing, you will know exactly what to do about it. I am also going to share the 5 reasons Berberine fails for people. And number 3 is something almost no one talks about. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. If you are someone who has been managing blood sugar for months or years, and your body does not seem to cooperate despite your genuine effort, I need to say something directly. You are not failing. You are not broken. Insulin resistance that builds over years does not reverse in weeks. The cellular machinery in your muscles and liver was damaged gradually by a metabolic environment that is only recently beginning to change. Dietary discipline and exercise are absolutely essential, but in many cases, especially in the early months, they are not sufficient on their own. And that is not a character flaw. That is biology. Today, I am going to give you the complete, mechanistically honest, research-backed answer to the question I hear more than almost any other from people managing diabetes and prediabetes. Does Berberine actually lower blood sugar, and how do you use it correctly? No miracle claims, no magic pills, just the science and the exact strategy. Let us start with what Berberine actually is, because understanding this will make everything else in this video click into place. Berberine is a naturally occurring plant compound called an alkaloid, found in plants like barberry, golden seal, and Oregon grape. It has been used in traditional medicine for centuries, but what modern science has done is remarkable. It identified the exact cellular mechanism that explains why this ancient compound works. And that mechanism is why Berberine does not just help one thing. It helps blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and body weight, all at the same time, from a single compound. Here is how. When Berberine enters your cells, it activates an enzyme called AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase. Think of AMPK as the master metabolic switch inside every cell in your body. It is the CEO of your entire energy management system. When AMPK gets turned on, it sends a cascade of instructions simultaneously to every major metabolic department in your body. Instruction 1. To your muscle cells, become more sensitive to insulin. The molecular machinery that pulls glucose from your blood into your muscle tissue starts working properly again. More glucose gets cleared from your bloodstream, with less insulin required to do it. For anyone with insulin resistance, this is the exact opposite of what has been happening for years. Instruction 2, to your liver. Stop releasing glucose you do not need. And this is the one that explains that stubborn morning number. Here is something most sugar patients are never told. That high fasting glucose you see every single morning, in many cases, it is not about what you ate the night before. It is about what your liver did while you were sleeping. In type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, the liver keeps producing and releasing glucose into your bloodstream all night long, even when your blood sugar is already elevated. It is a factory that does not know when to stop production. No amount of skipping rice at dinner fixes a liver that is overproducing glucose overnight. That requires fixing insulin sensitivity at the level of the liver itself. And Berberine, through AMPK activation, directly suppresses this hepatic glucose output. That is why fasting glucose specifically responds to Berberine in a way it often does not respond to diet change alone. Instruction 3. to your fat cells. Shift from storage mode into burning mode. This is why berberine also improves triglycerides and body composition as a secondary benefit. One compound, 3 simultaneous mechanisms, all connected. And this is precisely why the research on berberine does not show a single benefit through one pathway. It shows simultaneous improvements because AMPK influences all of these through deeply interconnected metabolic processes. Now let us talk about what actually happens in clinical trials when real diabetes patients take berberine. A large systematic review and meta-analysis, combining dozens of randomized controlled trials involving thousands of people with type 2 diabetes, found that berberine significantly reduced both fasting blood glucose and HbA1c. For anyone unfamiliar, HbA1c is your 3-month average blood sugar, the most meaningful number your doctor checks to evaluate long-term diabetes control. Berberine moved it, meaningfully. And then there is the finding that genuinely shocked the research community. In a direct 3-month head-to-head comparative trial, berberine's glucose-lowering effect was comparable to metformin. Metformin, one of the most widely prescribed diabetes medications on the planet. A plant compound performing at the level of a pharmaceutical drug. That is not a marketing headline. That is published, peer-reviewed clinical research. A second comprehensive meta-analysis of randomized placebo-controlled trials confirmed reductions in fasting plasma glucose, 2-hour glucose tolerance, LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol, triglycerides, and improvements in body composition. Not just body weight, body composition, the ratio of fat to lean muscle tissue, which independently affects how well your body handles glucose. Now let me be very precise about weight loss, because this is where misleading claims are everywhere. Clinical trials typically show 3 to 5 pounds of weight loss over 12 weeks in people using berberine without other significant lifestyle changes. That is real, but it is not dramatic. And anyone telling you berberine melts fat overnight is lying to you. The far more important benefit is the improvement in how efficiently your body handles carbohydrates, because your cells are finally listening to insulin again. Quick pause. If this is already giving you information your doctor has not shared with you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and it helps this video reach more people who are struggling with the same thing. Okay, back to it. Let me tell you about a real patient case, because numbers in studies are one thing, but seeing the result in an actual person makes it real. She was 63 years old, pre-diabetic for 4 years. Her HbA1c had been sitting between 6.1 and 6.4 despite everything she was doing right. She had significantly reduced refined carbohydrates. She walked every day. She had lost 11 pounds over 18 months through genuine, consistent effort. And every single morning, her fasting glucose was between 118 and 134. Sound familiar? When her doctor looked closely at her daily pattern, the mechanism became clear immediately. Her post-meal glucose was actually reasonably controlled. It was the morning number that would not shift. Because her liver, still deeply insulin resistant, was producing glucose all night long, independent of what she had eaten the evening before. Dietary changes that reduce post-meal spikes do not fix autonomous hepatic glucose output. That requires improving insulin sensitivity at the level of the liver. She started berberine HCl, 600 milligrams with her largest meal daily for the first week. Then 600 milligrams twice daily from week 2 forward. No other dramatic changes to a diet and lifestyle that were already solid. At 6 weeks, fasting glucose consistently between 98 and 108. That is a number that had not appeared on her meter in over 4 years. At 12 weeks, HbA1c had dropped to 5.8. Her physician noted that if the trajectory continued, the pre-diabetes designation might be revisited entirely at her next annual assessment. The food did not change dramatically. The lifestyle did not change dramatically. What changed was the cellular environment that had been preventing her existing efforts from fully expressing themselves. The numbers followed the biology. Now let us get into the protocol, because this is where most people go wrong, and it is costing them months of potential progress. Most people who try berberine and say it does not work made one of 5 specific mistakes. I am going to give you the exact protocol right now, and then I am going to walk you through every way it fails. Dosage, and why most people are underdosing. The research-backed therapeutic range is 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per day. Most people who see meaningful results land at 1,200 milligrams daily. This is not a random number. This is the dose range that clinical trials used to produce the outcomes I just described. AMPK activation is dose-dependent. Below a certain threshold, the signaling effect is simply too weak to change outcomes. Here is the problem. A huge number of berberine products on the market contain only 200 to 400 milligrams per capsule, with labels suggesting 1 capsule per day. That is giving you 1/4 of the dose used in the studies that showed results. It will not work. It cannot work at that dose. And then people blame the compound instead of the product. You want a product with 500 to 600 milligrams per capsule, so that taking 2 capsules daily, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, gets you to the clinical threshold. That is it. 2 capsules, not 7. Simple, sustainable, and exactly what the research used. Timing: 600 milligrams with breakfast, 600 milligrams with dinner. Always with food, not on an empty stomach. Taking berberine with food reduces digestive side effects and positions it to work precisely when your glucose management system is most active. Form: this matters more than most people realize. Virtually all of the human randomized controlled trials that established berberine's efficacy used berberine HCl, hydrochloride, standardized to approximately 97% purity. You will see newer forms being marketed: liposomal berberine, dihydroberberine, various enhanced bioavailability versions. Some are beginning to be studied in animal models. But the human clinical evidence is built entirely on berberine HCl. Use the form that has the human evidence behind it. Quality verification: third-party testing for heavy metals and potency, manufacturing in GMP-certified facilities. These standards separate products that actually contain what the label claims from those that do not. Now, I promised you the 5 reasons berberine fails, including number 3 that almost no one mentions. Here they are. Reason 1, insufficient dose. If you are taking less than 1,000 milligrams daily, you are below the clinical threshold. The AMPK signal is too weak. You will not see meaningful results regardless of everything else you do right. Reason 2, wrong form. The human evidence base is built on berberine HCl at 97% standardization. If your product does not specify this, you do not actually know what you are taking or whether it is effective. Reason 3, expecting results too early. This is the silent killer of berberine's success, and the one nobody warns you about. People try it for 2 weeks, see no dramatic change, and quit. But the 4 to 8 week mark is when fasting glucose begins to shift meaningfully. 2 to 3 months is when HbA1c moves. Quitting at 2 weeks is like leaving a race at the halfway point and concluding that running does not work. The biology needs time. Give it the time the studies gave it. The results follow. Reason 4, taking it on an empty stomach. This significantly amplifies digestive side effects: cramping, loose stools, gas, and causes many people to stop before their body has had a chance to adapt. Always with food, no exceptions. Reason 5, a lifestyle that actively fights against what berberine is trying to do. This is the most important reason, and the one nobody discusses honestly. Berberine activates AMPK. It initiates a cascade of improved metabolic signaling. But that signaling operates in a cellular environment shaped by every other input your body receives daily. High saturated fat intake directly impairs insulin receptor function in muscle and liver cells. Poor sleep reduces insulin sensitivity by up to 25% the same day. Chronic stress drives liver glucose output through cortisol. Low muscle mass removes the body's primary site for clearing blood sugar from the bloodstream. Berberine can amplify the signal. It cannot override a consistently hostile metabolic environment. Which brings me to the 4 lifestyle factors that determine whether berberine actually works for you. Before I get into this, drop a comment right now telling me what your biggest challenge with blood sugar management is. Is it the morning fasting number, the after-meal spike, or the HbA1c that will not budge? I read every comment and your answer shapes the next video I make. Here are the 4 lifestyle amplifiers. Number 1, dietary fiber. The research target is 25 to 38 grams per day. Most people managing diabetes are getting far less than that. Fiber physically slows glucose absorption by forming a gel in your digestive tract, reducing the rate at which glucose crosses into your bloodstream. It also feeds your gut microbiome, which produces short-chain fatty acids that improve insulin sensitivity in your gut and liver cells. People who meaningfully increase fiber intake while using berberine see faster and more substantial improvements than people using berberine alone. Vegetables, legumes, lentils, whole oats. Push toward 30 grams per day as your consistent target. Number 2, saturated fat. Excess saturated fat accumulates inside muscle and liver cells and physically blocks the same insulin signaling pathway that berberine is working to restore. The goal is not elimination, it is balance. Shift toward olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fatty fish. That shift makes your cells dramatically more receptive to both insulin and berberine. Number 3, the post-meal walk. A randomized controlled study found that 3 15-minute walks taken after meals were more effective at controlling post-meal glucose than one 45-minute session of the same total duration. Here is why this matters so much for sugar patients. Muscle contraction during movement activates glucose transporters in your muscle cell membranes through a pathway that bypasses insulin entirely. Glucose gets pulled directly into working muscle, reducing the post-meal glucose peak regardless of your current insulin resistance status. This means you can meaningfully reduce your post-meal blood sugar starting tonight. Not after 6 weeks of supplementation. Tonight. 15 minutes after dinner. That is your entry point. Number 4, sleep. A single night of poor sleep reduces insulin sensitivity by up to 25% the following day. Not gradually, acutely. Cortisol elevated by poor sleep simultaneously drives liver glucose output and suppresses insulin sensitivity throughout your entire body. If you are consistently sleeping 5 to 6 hours and wondering why your fasting glucose will not shift, this is a significant part of your answer. Treat sleep like medication. Reduce screens and bright light in the hour before bed. Consider magnesium glycinate at 275 milligrams 1 hour before sleep. It supports deeper sleep stages and has measurable downstream effects on morning fasting glucose. Bonus: resistance training. Muscle tissue is the primary site of glucose disposal in your body. More functional muscle means more capacity to clear blood sugar after meals with less insulin required. Insulin sensitivity stays elevated for 24 to 48 hours after each resistance training session, compounding with consistent practice. 2 to 3 sessions per week using body weight, bands, or light weights. Paired with berberine, the synergistic effect on fasting glucose is significantly greater than either alone. Now let me bust 3 myths that are actively costing sugar patients real results. Myth 1. Berberine melts fat overnight. No. Clinical trials show 3 to 5 pounds of weight loss over 12 weeks without other significant lifestyle changes. Real, but not dramatic. The genuine value for sugar patients is improved metabolic efficiency. Your cells becoming more responsive to insulin. That is the change that reduces your long-term complication risk. Myth 2. Berberine cures diabetes. It does not. It is a powerful, evidence-backed tool that addresses the underlying regulatory dysfunction of insulin resistance. But it works within a system. It amplifies the signals you send through your lifestyle. It is not a cure. It is a force multiplier. And force multipliers only work when there is already a force to multiply. Myth 3. All berberine supplements are the same. This is the most damaging myth because it leads people to buy cheap, underdosed products, get no results, and conclude that berberine simply does not work. Quality, purity, standardization, and dosage vary enormously between brands. Read labels. Verify third-party certification. Choose products that contain 500 to 600 milligrams per capsule, so that reaching the clinical dose requires 2 capsules, not 7. Now let me give you a concrete week-by-week plan you can start immediately. This week, establish your baseline. Log your fasting glucose every morning for 5 days. Take 2 to 3 post-meal readings, 1 hour after your different meals. Note your current medications and honestly assess your average sleep duration. This baseline is your measuring stick. Everything gets compared against it. Next week, begin the protocol. Start Berberine HCl at 600 milligrams with your largest meal once daily. Add a 15-minute walk after your 2 largest meals, starting tonight. Push your dietary fiber toward 30 grams per day, beginning with vegetables and legumes. Week 2, advance and layer. If digestion has been tolerable, move to 600 milligrams twice daily with meals. Continue the walks. Add 1 30-minute resistance training session using body weight or bands. At 6 weeks, first evaluation. Compare your fasting glucose pattern to your baseline log. In most people who respond to berberine, the change is visible in your own daily data before any lab work confirms it. You will see it before your doctor does. At 12 weeks, schedule an HbA1c and lipid panel with your physician. Walk into that appointment with 12 weeks of daily glucose data in hand. That is not a patient waiting to be told how they are doing. That is a patient who already knows and is showing their doctor the proof. Here is the truth I want to leave you with. That morning glucose number that has not moved despite your best efforts, it is not evidence that your efforts are insufficient. It is evidence that the metabolic system driving it requires more than dietary change alone to shift, especially in the first months. That is not a personal failure. That is a biological reality with a specific evidence-backed solution. Berberine, used correctly, in the right form, at the right dose, consistently, alongside the lifestyle inputs that create a receptive cellular environment, is one of the most well-supported non-prescription tools available for exactly this problem. It is not magic. It is not a miracle cure. It is a metabolic signal amplifier. And it works best when the signals you are sending through your food, your movement, your sleep, and your stress are already pointing in the right direction. You have been doing the work. Now you have the tool, the protocol, and the science that can help that work finally express itself clearly in the number you check every single morning. If this video gave you clarity that your clinic appointments have not provided, please share it. There are people in your family, your friends list, your WhatsApp groups, who are struggling with the same frustration and have never heard any of this explained this way. One share could genuinely change their health trajectory. Hit subscribe if you want more evidence-based content designed specifically for people managing blood sugar. I publish consistently, and every single video I make is built around the real questions people are asking and the science that actually answers them with no hype. And drop a comment right now. Tell me your current fasting glucose and how long you have been trying to bring it down. I genuinely read every single comment, and your story, your struggle, and your progress might shape the next video I make for this community. I will see you in the next video.